Welcome back to Monitors Unboxed. It's time to update our 4K monitor recommendation guide for the middle of 2026. I'm constantly testing new monitors right here on the channel, and products also change in price over time. So there are a bunch of updates in today's video compared to the previous edition from 2025. As with previous best of videos, I tend to focus on monitors I've personally tested and have confirmed to be good. I don't like recommending things based on spec sheets, so for the monitors I talk about today, I've either fully reviewed them or they're a variant of something I've tested. You can find more testing data and full impressions of everything in the dedicated reviews and roundups on this channel. These recommendations are not paid. No one has bought their way into this list. Everything is based on the test data, reviews, and my opinion. If you're interested in purchasing one of the monitors I talk about, links to them are in the description. We also made a new website to help you guys find monitor deals. It's called monitor.deals. It's curated by me, it's updated daily, it tracks prices for products I would recommend, and it shows great deals on monitors. We're still working on the site, adding new monitors and features all the time, but it's well worth checking out even just to get extra info on a monitor. The URL is simple, monitor.deals, go check it out. And now let's get into my picks. Right now, the best 4K gaming monitors on the market are 32-inch 4K OLEDs. 27-inch models are available as well, we'll get to those in a moment, but to me, the larger 32-inch panel size is more immersive for 4K gaming, and prices aren't too different to the smaller models. These panels are high resolution, fast, and produce excellent HDR for gaming. With two main panel types to choose from, QD-OLED and WOLED, there are lots of great monitor options, and it's rare to find one that's outright bad. Unchanged from my last video, in my opinion, the overall best 32-inch 4K OLED is the Asus ROG Strix XG32UC WMG. This is a 32-inch 4K WOLED with a 240Hz refresh rate, and the reason why I think this is the best is because of its excellent feature set. It provides a stunning glossy true black finish, which is superior to QD-OLED glossy, and does a better job of preserving blacks in all usage environments. QD-OLED has a pesky problem of blacks appearing grey in brighter rooms, which is a complete non-issue on the WOLED-based UC-WMG. There are two other advantages to WOLED over QD-OLED. One is better HDR performance thanks to more consistent brightness output with no panel dimming in bright scenes and peak brightness that still reaches 1000 nits. 4K 240Hz WOLED also offers dual mode support, allowing the monitor to run in a 1080p 480Hz configuration. This mode is super clear for competitive gaming and adds to the versatility of the product for those that play multiple types of game. Asus throw in some great features like their Neo proximity sensor, OLED anti-flicker mode, ELMB, and unlocked color controls. Now, QD-OLED does have some advantages, including a wider color volume with higher color brightness and better uniformity. But I think the overall package that the latest glossy WOLED panels offer is the best on the market. The XG32UC WMG is slightly cheaper in mid-2026 than it was last year, typically retailing for a little under $1,000 US. That's on the higher end of 32-inch 4K pricing, but it's not outrageous compared to QD-OLEDs that start around $800. You'll probably find better bang for buck with the QD-OLEDs. However, if you're after a premium 4K model, spending about 25% more on this WOLED is reasonable in my opinion. Now, when it comes to bang for buck QD-OLEDs, it's hard to go wrong as most offer great performance. In 2026, there are two main 32-inch 4K 240Hz panel variants. There's the older panel, which first launched in 2024, and a new updated version, which launched at the start of this year. The newer panel, which I tested in the Asus PG32 UCDM Gen 3, has higher full-screen brightness, 300 nits versus 250 nits, slightly improved black levels in bright rooms, and is 8% brighter in HDR content. You can distinguish the new panel from the old panel by its display HDR true black rating. 500 tier is the 2026 panel, 400 tier is the 2024 panel. I've also listed which panel is being used on the monitor.deals product pages to make it crystal clear which option is which. The new panel is better, but not by much, so in my opinion it's not worth a significant price premium. If you find a 2026 model at the same price as a 2024 model, by all means get it, but largely what we see at the moment is that monitors using the original panel are quite a bit cheaper. For example, the MSI 321 UPX is just $800, but the new 322 URX24 is debuting at $1,100. In this situation, I'd save the $300 and get the older 321 UPX model. The 321 UPX is the model I'd recommend in most situations, as it's routinely a great value buy based on our price tracking at monitor.deals. But there are of course others that I've tested and liked, including the MSI 321 URX, Dell AW3225QF if you want a curved version, or the Samsung G81 SF if you want something with a matte finish. I'd look at the options available in your region and choose the most affordable model with the features you want. Most variants offer great performance, and you can see the reviews right here on Monitors Unboxed for more information. Now when it comes to these higher end 32-inch 4K OLEDs, the models I've been talking about are models that are available right now and I'd recommend right now. But you may want to wait before purchasing one, especially if you're interested in one of the WOLED options. Firstly, the XG32UC WMG is going to be succeeded shortly by a newer generation model, the ROG Strix XG32UQWMS. Same basic specification, so it still has a glossy coating, still has a 4K 240Hz panel with a 1080p 480Hz dual mode, same RGWB subpixel layout and so on. But it's being upgraded to the latest tandem WOLED technology, which brings with it brightness improvements, including Display HDR True Black 500 certification and rated 1500 nits of peak brightness. It should be available at a similar price in the next few months. There's also a new 32-inch RGB stripe panel from LG Display that will be debuting soon in several monitors, including one from Asus called the PG32UCWM. We're not quite sure how that model will perform, but it's one to keep an eye on as we're expecting it to launch in the near future. Lastly, in the 32-inch category, you can also get cheaper 165Hz models in both QD-OLED and WOLED flavors. Obviously, these screens do not have as good motion clarity as the 240Hz models due to the lower refresh rate, but outside of that, they offer identical performance to the full-fat 240Hz versions seen in the high-end displays. Normally, I don't think too much of the 165Hz models because the price difference relative to the 240Hz models is not that significant. I don't think it's worth saving $50, for example, to drop from 240Hz to 165Hz. But recently, I've seen a model called the Asus ROG Strix XG32 UCDS that offers this 165Hz refresh at a more significant discount. It's just $600 US, which is $200 less than most of the 240Hz models. That's dirt cheap for a 32-inch QD OLED, and is well worth considering if the refresh rate is less important to you than the color performance of an OLED. If you're after a smaller 27-inch panel for HDR gaming, my recommendations are unchanged from the last update. As of right now, the only available panel uses QD-OLED technology, and it's a shrunk-down version of the first-gen 32-inch panels. This means you can expect similar performance to the larger versions, but in a more compact, higher-density format. There's a couple of options I'd recommend here, and you can check out current pricing on monitor.deals. The three standouts in my opinion are the Dell Alienware AW2725Q, the Gigabyte MO27U2, and the MSI MAG272UP X24. All of these models are available between $650 and $700 US. They all use the same panel, and at this price offer fantastic bang for buck. It's difficult to recommend any of the more expensive options unless you specifically wanted the features they offer. The AW2725Q offers similar performance to other options. It's just as bright as other models, it looks excellent for HDR gaming, it uses a glossy panel with deep blacks, and the only real downside is it lacks some of the features found on premium models, like a USB-C display signal input. It's usually my go-to choice in this category, especially when available at $700 US. The MO27U2 is very close to the AW2725Q in what it offers. I wasn't as impressed with its highest brightness HDR mode. It uses a boosted brightness configuration as opposed to a more traditional Peak 1000 mode. But outside of that, it delivers similar performance to other 27-inch QD OLEDs. It does have a great design, USB-C and KVM switch, which is a strong set of hardware features. There's also the MSI MAG272UP X24, a new model that I haven't tested, but I've confirmed it uses the same OLED panel as the others. No major feature differences that I've seen compared to the Dell and Gigabyte models, and I expect this to perform just like the higher-end 272URX, but without features like DisplayPort 2.1, which helps to keep the cost down. At a typical price of $730, with recent sales dropping it to $700, it's definitely an option to explore. There are other high-end models that are worth considering if you want specific features, such as the Asus ROG Swift PG27 UCDM and ROG Strix XG27 UCDMG. Some of these monitors include things that I don't think are worth spending more money on, like DisplayPort 2.1, while others include useful things like the Neo proximity sensor, found in both the ROG Strix and ROG Swift models. The PG27 UCDM is still the best model I've tested, but at $1,100 with an all-time low of $934 in our Monitor.deals tracking, its best ever price is still well above the typical price of the models I mentioned earlier. Lastly, while 27-inch 4K QD-OLED screens offer great performance right now, and I do recommend them, a 27-inch 4K WOLED competitor is set to enter the market shortly. We've seen this panel recently at Computex, we're expecting it very soon, and we know it offers tandem WOLED technology at 240Hz with an RGB striped subpixel layout. It could be worth waiting to see how those monitors perform before deciding on a 27-inch 4K OLED for gaming. If you're after a 4K HDR-capable LCD gaming monitor, my recommendations in this category are also unchanged compared to the end of 2025. I haven't seen any new options come to the market that would usurp my previous picks. The current options are still great value, and as far as I'm aware, all of them are still widely available. There are three main reasons to pick a 4K HDR-capable LCD as your gaming monitor in 2026. The first is that you don't want to deal with the potential burn-in concerns that come with OLEDs. If you use your display for both gaming and productivity, LCDs are a safer choice with the potential for better longevity. The second is that you want a 4K HDR monitor but don't want to fork out at least $700 on an OLED. LCDs with mini LED backlights are much cheaper. And third, maybe you just like the extreme brightness that LCDs have to offer, with current models pushing full screen HDR brightness above 1000 nits. The models I can recommend at the moment are the MSI MPG274UI DFW E16M, the AOC U27G4XM, the Kurui S2741LM, and the KTC M27P6, which all appear to use the exact same panel. They are 27-inch 4K 160Hz IPS LCDs with a 1152 zone mini LED backlight and support for a 1080p 320Hz dual mode. Unlike older models I've tested, this new wave performs well and avoids annoying deal-breaker flaws. With full array local dimming, these 4K LCDs are genuinely capable of displaying HDR images properly, unlike fake HDR products that lack local dimming and are often labeled with misleading HDR 400 specs. 1152 backlight zones allows for a large increase in contrast over SDR monitors with deeper blacks and decent control, meaning bright and dark elements can be shown on screen at the same time. This creates the dazzling, impressive HDR effect that you're paying for. It's not just the screen being run at a higher brightness level. Speaking of brightness, these new monitors are capable of some very high results, especially in brighter scenes. The KTC M27P6 achieves over 1700 nits in real scene tests. Along with good shadow detail and a fast dimming response, we get solid performance for HDR gaming that takes things to the next level relative to even cheaper SDR products. In the right circumstances, these LCDs can look remarkably similar to an OLED. Motion performance is pretty good across these models. They are typical fast IPS panels with different optimization depending on the model you get. The KTC is well balanced for the middle part of the range and the AOC more so towards 160Hz. The 1080p 320Hz dual mode increases clarity for multiplayer gaming, so these are quite versatile products capable of HDR gaming for single player, 320Hz gaming in multiplayer titles, and productivity work without burn-in. You can expect to pay between $400 and $500 US for one of these monitors, which is about a 30 to 40% premium over basic 4K SDR monitors. As a mid-range 4K option, sitting between 4K SDR LCDs and OLEDs, that seems reasonable to me. I also don't have a strong preference between the four models at their current prices, mostly because there isn't a lot of price difference. It's typical to find them within $50 of one another on any given day, with occasional discounts here and there. The only main deciding factor here is whether you want the mini LED backlight tuned more for brightness or more for contrast. The KTC and Karui models are the brightest and push brightness the highest, occasionally at the expense of contrast. The MSI and AOC models are still bright, but favour contrast and black levels in HDR scenes. There's no right or wrong presentation, and I'd recommend all 4 models depending on pricing and availability in your region. You can learn more about these monitors in our 4K mini LED roundup. The other good news about buying in this product segment is that I'm not expecting any substantial new releases throughout the rest of 2026. Based on what we've seen at trade shows and heard from monitor vendors, this current mini LED technology is what will be on offer throughout 2026. So I don't think there's much point waiting for new products to arrive if you were interested in an HDR-capable LCD monitor. The only thing you should wait for are prices to be decent in your region. If you're after an affordable 4K monitor for gaming and maybe a bit of work on the side, this is where IPS LCDs offer really strong value. In the budget class, you won't find top-tier hardware for HDR gaming with fancy mini LED backlights, but you will find great high refresh rate products that are SDR capable. The best option in this category is the Gigabyte M27UP, a 27-inch 4K 160Hz IPS LCD monitor. While this screen has an MSRP of $380 US, it's regularly available on sale for $330, at which point it's a fantastic buy. Despite its low price point, it offers the same performance as we've seen from other 4K IPS LCDs previously. It's decently fast with a single overdrive mode experience, it has good calibration, a wide color gamut, and acceptable IPS level contrast. There's a nice balance of performance here, making the M27UP a great monitor for gaming and productivity. The other cool thing about this monitor is it offers a 1080p 320Hz dual mode, increasing responsiveness and motion clarity for competitive gamers. Of course, you don't have to use the dual mode, you could just ignore that feature and enjoy its fantastic value as a 4K monitor. But for those that play a wide variety of games, it's a great inclusion. I don't recommend spending more than $330 on a 4K LCD, as the options I've tested all offer a very similar level of performance across both motion and colors. When the M27UP is already well tuned for motion and well calibrated, plus in my opinion it has a great design, there's little reason to spend more on something premium. You'll just be wasting money, and once you get into higher price tiers, there's better options with different sorts of hardware. Based on what I've seen over the last 6 months, the Gigabyte M27UP is usually the best bang for buck in this category. But there are a couple of other options to look out for, such as the Asus ROG Strix XG27 UCG, which is a very similar monitor. Right now, the UCG is about $50 more than the M27UP, but if it goes on sale, I'd get whichever of the Asus and Gigabyte options are cheapest. In previous iterations of this recommendation guide, I also suggested several budget 32-inch 4K LCD options for SDR gaming. However, as of mid-2026, all of these monitors have been discontinued. The LG 32GR93U and Gigabyte M32UP are both no longer available outside of select retailers that have old stock. And I'm not in love with many of the remaining options, which for the most part I feel are either unimpressive or too expensive. When you've got 32-inch OLEDs creeping down into the $600 range with 165Hz refresh rates, it makes it difficult to justify spending that much on an LCD at a similar refresh rate. And even if you did want to buy one for that price, there aren't many options. So for now, unless I see a change towards the back end of the year, I can't recommend a 32-inch LCD SDR gaming monitor. So that's it for this 4K gaming monitor recommendation video. As always, if you do want to learn more about the monitors I've been talking about, I have individual reviews available right here on Monitors Unboxed. I'd also recommend checking monitor.deals and the links in the description for updated pricing information, as this does change over time. So check down there if you're watching this video weeks or months after it went live. We also appreciate anyone that uses those links to buy one of the monitors we've recommended in this video if you found it helpful. And that's it for this one. If you do want to support Monitors Unboxed and the independent testing that we do, a lot of work goes into actually reviewing these products. We have genuinely tested them and used them. That is a lot of work. So if you do want to support us, Patreon is the best way to do that. Links to that is in the description below. And you get access to some cool benefits like our Discord community where you can ask further questions about monitors, maybe if you're deciding between a couple of different options. We also have the calibrated settings and ICC profiles for the monitors that we review. So you can find that available on our Patreon page. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.